Okay, and now we'll get started. I'm Linda Brubaker, and I'm a job search coach, and I've been doing job search coaching for over 6 years. I think it's almost 7 years now. What I do is that I work with job seekers in every aspect of their job search, helping them to highlight and leverage their transferable skills to help find their next forever job and hire their next boss. These lunch and learn sessions are free and open to any job seeker. But what I do, it's my way of giving back to the job seeking community. That said, let's get started. Okay. As I said, introduce yourself in the chat and we'll get going. Before we start, Sue, would you like to introduce yourself too? It's nice to see you back. You're muted, Sue.
Our internet's down, and I now understand the trouble people have being on their phones as I'm typing with one finger my URL.
Exactly.
So used to being from TextBlaze. So sympathy to all of you in advance if happens to you. Yes, I'm Sue Griffey. I'm Sue Mentors in my global mentoring practice, and many of you know me. I'm the mentor with Pom Poms. I help you identify your wins so you'll celebrate them, because oftentimes Linda and I will recognize them maybe even before you do. But also happy to meet you all, because I'm sorry that you're here looking for searching stuff and helping to move along in a job search. But for many of you, these practices, I hope, will become second nature, because the things you do now, you should be doing all throughout your career. And Linda, I won't be joining you on February 17th, but you and I both were asked by Brenda to talk about working while looking. And I tell you, ABL, always be looking. So more to come on that. Thanks, Linda, for letting me introduce myself.
Absolutely. And by the way, always be looking, even after you've accepted a job, even if you're in that active job search process and you think that the offer is coming down the pike, don't stop looking. If you're on a contract, don't stop looking. Okay. We're in this environment right now where it's employment at will. What we fail to remember is that it's not just on the employer's side of the desk. We get to make those decisions too. If it's not the right opportunity for us, even if you're taking it, maybe it's your transitional job, your survival job, you're there, but you're not sure what the next best thing is out there, keep looking. Truly is okay. And we're here to support you every step of the way, whether you're unemployed or whether you're employed and looking for that next role. So that's really important. What I'm going to do to start with is I'm going to put the link to the private chat or the private group in the chat, and I'll put my own information in the chat in a minute. But I want to know who's had a success in terms of job search over the last week or so that they want to talk about. All right, Frank.
5 interviews in 4 companies this week.
That's fantastic. All first interviews, Frank?
Unfortunately, right after this, in fact, I got to drop early because I got to go to my next one. But I wanted to be uplifted, so I came.
I'm so glad you did. That's fantastic. Thank you for sharing that with us. Okay, and you'll have to let us know how those go, okay? One quick question. Are those first interviews with inside recruiters or outside recruiters?
All are inside. Yeah, all are inside recruiters.
Even better. Fantastic. And I say even better, having been a headhunter, okay, an outside executive search person, it's very different. And yes, I want to present the best candidates I can to my clients because that's the only way I get paid. But as an inside recruiter, I have that direct link to the hiring manager that an outside recruiter may not. So it's a different kind of an experience. And even when you've got that first interview with a search recruiter, an outside recruiter, you still need that first interview inside the company as well. So you are a step ahead in that process. Thank you. Okay, Tara.
Good morning. I actually have an opportunity in the works right now with somebody who I used to work with about 7 years ago. We worked together side by side for about 4 years. He's actually the hiring manager at the company he's working for right now. So he's wanting to get me on board and on his team. So I am working on that now. I was not expecting that. And especially being with somebody who I've known for so many years that we were peers and friends. So I'm doing my yeah, I'm practicing for my interview and trying to keep more of a professional, more like rather than, hey, the hiring manager is my friend and former colleague. So but I'm excited about this opportunity because it aligns well with where I want to go moving forward, and also the working environment as far as being remote and hybrid and so forth. So I'm hoping that something comes of that and doesn't fall apart, and but I'm also keeping my eyes open for other opportunity. I'm not going to totally get my hopes up on this. I don't want to be disappointed.
Absolutely.
So
But I think that's
my excitement.
fantastic.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Now, initially, did you reach out to him, Tara, or did he reach out to you?
We were talking socially earlier in the week because I ran into another one of our former colleagues. So we were joking around about that, and we were asking how things are going. And and then he had asked me again like what I was looking for, and he says, I have an analyst position open right now. I'm trying to fill. And he sent me over the job description, and we've been communicating for the last 48 hours. So we're getting the ball rolling on that.
That's fantastic. And you also highlight one of the points that we wanted to make today, which is that you need to keep that network open. You never know where the next opportunity is going to come from. In this case, you were talking socially, and that happens a lot where people will know of something. And honestly, this is now one of your social groups. We're here to help you all as well. We don't know how we can help you unless you tell us. We can't help you unless you tell us you're looking. So that's fantastic, Tara. So please keep us posted. Joe, you also pointed out that you've got a couple of interviews going on this week. I'm really excited for all of you. Okay, can't wait to see how those come out. If we can help you with anything along the way, make sure you let us know, because we truly are here to support you. Okay. Now, one of the things that I want to do is, since we're here and talking about, what kinds of steps can you take when you're unemployed? And what should you be doing to let that network know and to get yourself out there and visible? I want to talk again about that whole idea of always keep looking. And here's my cracked crystal ball for the day. We are seeing this mixed job market right now. You're seeing layoffs coming down the pike, unfortunately, in all industries. We were hoping that they would slow down a little bit, but Citicorp just announced 20,000 layoffs. State Farm just announced some. There have been layoffs in some of the high-tech companies as well, but by the same token, we're also seeing an increased number of jobs being posted. So you have that kind of a dichotomy, which means that we don't know, honestly, what it's going to look like. I wish I could give you that firm. It's going to be great. I'm really encouraged by the fact that so many people are now getting these interviews and beginning to move forward. And I think that's fantastic. What it's telling me is that the people who have the skill set, who are out there and moving and are highlighting what they can do for that next company and are making use of all the tools that are available, are the ones who are starting to get some of those opportunities. Unfortunately, that's not everybody. I wish I could say that you're all going to get it tomorrow. I can't. But we know that some of this stuff is starting to work, and that's fantastic. Okay. We also know that the latest surveys are telling us that anywhere from 24 to 32% of the people who are currently employed, at least on the last survey, are starting to look for new jobs too. So you've got that competition, not just from people who are looking because they don't have a job, but people who are already employed and looking. What that means is that it becomes even more important for you to highlight what you can do for that specific job, to talk about those accomplishments, to quantify them, to figure out how you match so that they'll know. if you've worked with me one-on-one, sometimes you'll know that I talk about the dummy on my side of the desk or the screen. And I really mean it. When somebody's hiring, when they're recruiting, they get so many applications coming in that you need to make it clear to them extremely quickly how you match their job. And if you don't do that, I'm going to skim on to the next. I may come back to you, but you're not going to be one of the ones that I'm going to really do a deep dive into first. So I know it's a pain. Customize everything you do every time. Highlight it for that particular job. Make me want to talk to you. Make me have no excuse not to talk to you. Okay, that's great. All right. Out of curiosity, how many of you are recently unemployed? Been unemployed for the last month or two? Okay, so perfect. All right. Not perfect. I don't mean it that way. Okay, I'm just trying to get a feel for it. And I know that there are some of you who have been unemployed for a lot longer. So there are a couple of things that I want to suggest as we're moving forward in this unemployment area. How many of you have the green banner enabled? Okay. Perfect. For those of you who have, yay. I know it feels uncomfortable to do it. But I'm going to advise actually that you do. If you don't have that green banner enabled, if you haven't started to tell people on LinkedIn that you're looking, they don't know that they need you, that you need support, and they don't know how to reach out. So the same way that Tara mentioned that she was in a social conversation and they were talking about the fact that she was looking for something new. All of a sudden that opportunity became available. She wouldn't have known about it if she wasn't willing to talk about it. Enabling the green banner or telling LinkedIn that you are open to looking for new opportunities is exactly that same thing, but on a much broader scale. If you aren't employed, I know that there's some people, because I had some people tell me last week as well, they're concerned about putting it out there because they're embarrassed or they don't want everybody to know. But you know what? You want everybody to know, because if they don't know, they can't help you. So for those of you who have enabled the green banner, can you tell me what made you do that? And those of you who haven't, one or two, tell me why you haven't. Okay, Lori.
I had it on, I just put it in the chat, because I agree with you about, how you want to broadcast it. But what I started finding was I was getting everyone with resume writing services, this and that. I mean, my inbox was just inundated with more solicitors, and I was getting, I'm a marketer. I put in there, I'm integrated marketing. I can do shopper, the whole thing. I'm strategic, that sort of a thing. But I was getting people who were soliciting me to be an RN. Nowhere in my profile does it say RN. So I have actually, I'm going to push back a little for me. Okay, maybe it's marketing, so not everyone, that I've gotten more through just reaching out to people.
Oh, absolutely.
And congratulating them when they've gotten new jobs.
And that's a great strategy. And that's one of the things we're going to talk about. Unfortunately, we're finding a lot more of that spam coming through, but it's coming through whether you've got that LinkedIn banner, that green banner up or not. I'm getting them.
Oh, really?
I'm having people reaching out to me and asking whether or not I need a resume. Okay.
Well, I saw less once I changed it, and more targeted on what I am looking for, whether it was fractional or CMO. So,
Perfect.
or full time. Thank
You
you.
have to figure out what works best for you. My recommendation still is, and maybe as you put it on for a while and take it off for a while, and then put it back up again. But we're finding that from a recruiter's standpoint, they are much more likely to reach out to you if they know that you're open to a conversation. And that green banner or telling recruiters that you're open, if you're just doing it that way, is more likely to trigger that. Okay. And before I talk to Frank and Clint, one of the things I want to tell you is that there's a big difference between saying you are open to work with that green banner, which means that it's open to everyone, and saying that you're open only to recruiters. The open only to recruiters goes only to recruiters who have a paid LinkedIn recruiter package. There are a minimal number of recruiters who are actually paying for it. So you're limiting that opportunity to really do that kind of networking and make yourself visible that way. If you're currently working, don't put up the green banner. Do the go out to just the recruiters. But if you are not working right now, putting that out there and then being able to do away with some of those spam messaging will work. By the way, if you're getting those spam messages, you can either report it directly to LinkedIn and report it as spam. You can block that person. When they do it, it will come through as almost a request message, and you can deny the request. If LinkedIn sees enough of those for person X being reported for spam messaging, they will do something about it. In fact, I actually had my very first response from LinkedIn recently to one of those messages saying, we've investigated and we agree. First time. Okay. Usually it's, yeah, we don't think it falls outside the realm. But if they keep hearing those, keep seeing those, and my understanding is that it will take at least 10 people responding that this is spam before LinkedIn will even do that real investigation. So don't hesitate to do that. But also don't be surprised if nobody gets back to you from LinkedIn saying yay. Okay, Clint.
Yeah, I had it off and then participated in a bunch of different networking groups. And there was one where there was a bunch of recruiters on the line, and they said, they'd prefer to see it. It makes it easier for them. If they know that you're open to work, it's less work, less lead time they have to deal with. So I put it up. I think what I am going to do, though, is I heard to the earlier point, put it up, take it down for a couple of days or a week, and then put it back up again. Somehow in the algorithm that does something, and that's a positive. So I'm going to I forgot about that. I'm going to take it down today and then put it back up again next week.
Actually, you can take it down today and then put it up in another hour, and the algorithm will still be triggered. Okay. But that idea of making that change is not a bad thing. Yes, Frank, you're next.
Similar to Clint, I did some research. I follow a lot of recruiters online, and they all recommend to keep it up because they know that you are looking. And so I did the same. I don't get spam. I report all spam, so maybe that's
Good.
why I don't get a lot of it. And I want my network to know I am looking, and so that's why I put it up.
And I've actually had several people who've gotten jobs specifically because they've had that green banner up and somebody in their network knew. Or they were contacted by a recruiter who said that.
I did get some spam in the beginning, and I just deleted it and reported it as spam, and it's stopped pretty much. I still get stuff from my old job because I still have my old job up there, so I'm getting spam based on opportunities to sell me services for their job, but not for me.
Okay, good. Thank you. Ellen.
So I have been unemployed for 18 years. And so I put it up there immediately because I figured I needed all the help I could get.
So you're one of those people who's doing what I call you're a returner, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
yes,
being unemployed or looking for a job, you're either returning to the job market after a period of time, you're newly unemployed and looking, and newly can be you've been working and suddenly however long that is, right? Or you're looking to either move up or move out of your current role. So we work with all of those. But if you are unemployed for any reason, that green banner does signal a recruiter that you are interested in having a conversation. Good idea. Michelle.
Yeah, my situation is similar to Lori's, where I was just getting spammed up the wazoo. And as soon as I took it down again, I got real recruiters because I'm using the internal flag to, have serious conversations. I mean, it's such a distraction to get the spam, and it's more work for me to weed through it. And, at the time, a lot was going on personally. So it just was annoying.
It is.
But now I'm finding now that we're at the start of the year and I'm back to now searching again for my role, it hasn't been as fast paced as other roles, although I am seeing an increase of the postings, like you mentioned. So, maybe after this call, I'll consider putting it back up. Maybe I'll take it down again. So it might be up and down. But it's just a lot of work to weed through, the noise.
It is. And unfortunately, Michelle, we're finding that there are a lot of spam messengers out there right now, whether you've got the green banner up or not. The spammers are strong. And so LinkedIn is having trouble trying to figure out how to weed them out, which is why we need everybody's help. My recommendation is still to try and keep some of that going. Clint, is your hand up again or just forgot to take it down?
Yeah, no, it's up again. Quick question. I just went in and tried to do it. It only lets me say either open for work or open for recruiters. If I change it to recruiters and then back again for everybody, does that do the same thing? Or do I literally have to delete it and then start the whole open to work profile all over again?
You may have to start the whole open to work profile all over again. So here's what I would do, Clint, is just in case, because LinkedIn keeps changing that. Copy what you had there.
Gotcha.
So that you can just paste it in. I'm all
Yep.
about trying to make it easy.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. Okay, now, if you are doing that, turning it on and turning it off, you need to be careful to some extent because every time you do that, there's an automatic response to try and post that with that LinkedIn green messaging, right? Every time you do it. You can say yes or no, but you can also customize it. When you've got that open to work banner, you don't have to just use the standard open to work messaging that comes out. You can change that. What I like about putting up that open to work banner, another thing that happens, when you're putting out any other posting, it goes to people in your network. It goes to people that LinkedIn has deemed are important as part of that post. And it doesn't go out to everybody at the same time. But unless LinkedIn has changed it again within the last couple of weeks, when you put out that green banner, it gets broadcast to everyone. Now, I will double check that and make sure that I'm right. But that's another way of making sure that it gets out there. So just another point to think about. One more in terms of letting people know that you're open to work.
Can I just jump in?
Please.
I'm sorry, I had my hand up again.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. I just took it off so that I won't keep it. But are there I like the idea of going on, putting it on, waiting a little bit, taking it off. I really think that's a good solve. And then reporting. So thank you for those tips. But are there any days that are better? Like if I'm going to put it on, are there any, days because we all know Mondays people, at least I used to be, Monday you're trying to catch up, that sort of a thing. Fridays, a lot of times people are working remote, are weekends better or I don't know. So any suggestions on that?
Oh, I wish I had a good answer for you, Lori. We're still trying to figure that out because it keeps changing. What we're finding is it used to be, you're right, that people would do LinkedIn starting Tuesday to Thursday. And that they would do it 9 to 5 and then again after 8. We're not finding that anymore. We're finding that people are checking it at all times of day day, evening, and weekends. So it's really hard to tell which works best. What I would recommend, though, for that open to work is if you might want to do that, at least next time you do it, I might do it during the week, probably on a Tuesday. Just as a way of getting it out there. Try one on a weekend just to see. But we are finding that people are on LinkedIn all the time. By the way, you notice that Sue's on her phone right now. One of the things that we're finding is that a lot of people are checking LinkedIn on their phone. So check your LinkedIn, your headline. Make sure that it reads well on a phone because it's a very clipped version. Okay. So anything that you're doing should look easy to read both on the phone as well as on a big screen. Which is another way of saying also look at the picture that you have on LinkedIn. Make sure that it is not only a current picture, and by current I mean, I know many people are saying within the last 4 years. I'd actually like to see it within the last year or two. And make sure that it is large enough as it fills up that block so that I really see you. Now, your picture doesn't have to be professionally taken. I'm the first to tell you that mine's not. Okay. My husband actually managed to I take a terrible picture. My husband caught a good picture of me doing something else, and I wasn't aware that he was doing it. Okay, so that's a telephone picture. It doesn't have to be professional. It does have to be you looking professional. So I don't want to see your LinkedIn photograph as you in some sort of t-shirt advertising something. Don't laugh, Denise. I've seen it.
No, I have too.
And I'd rather honestly not see you standing on a beach. You don't have to be at a desk. It can be in a variety of different places. But remember,
sorry, they do one at a job fair. I mentioned the job fairs that you'd sent me to, how I found my first job. They actually have photographers at most of them that are freelancing to do headshots. Yeah, so that was helpful.
Absolutely. So if you see something around that's offering a free headshot at one of those organizations or one of those job fairs, take advantage of it. But it does not need to be a professional photo. It just needs to be you looking somewhat professional. That doesn't mean suit and tie. Okay. My photo, I'm going to tell you the trick is that I managed to cut it down enough that I'm actually holding 2 babies in my arms. But you don't see that, right? So obviously it wasn't a professional photo. It seems to work. So there are ways of doing it, but make sure that I can see who you are. And the reason for doing it as a more current one is that we want to make sure that the person that we meet, whether it's on Zoom or in person, is the person that we see in your photo. Ladies, we change our hair all the time. That's not an issue. But if, the photo is more than really 2 years old, we may not look the same, and it's important to do that. Okay, so that's number 1. All right. Other things that you can do if you're unemployed and we want to get you out there. Make sure that, how many of you have a paid subscription to LinkedIn? Okay. I don't yet. And this is the first time in, oh Lord, I think I joined LinkedIn in 2007. And I've never had a paid subscription, but LinkedIn is making enough changes that unfortunately I'm starting to consider it. Laura, is that a question or are you telling me that you?
No, I have a tip for everyone.
Good.
Because I was doing a paid subscription and then I stopped because of the holidays. Obviously, I didn't feel it was like maximizing it. And then I would go and look at it. So the algorithm we can work it to our favor. You go check out the plans, don't sign up, check out the plans. And then they sent me 2 months at $20 each. So I got the cost cut in half. So that's just an idea for those of you people who are out there, like I am.
Absolutely. And one of the things, though, that I find problematic with LinkedIn is that they don't make it very easy to find out what their plans are and what the costs are. So if you've got that link, Lori, and if you're in the private group, either put it here in the chat or put it into the private group so that we can find that link as well.
Well, I just clicked on it. It's in LinkedIn. When you go in to sign up for Activate Premium, you should see all the plans because I get, are you a recruiter or a
Right.
business or the other? And then it was just me playing with it, checking it out. And then all of a sudden, I don't know if anyone else has had that happen, but they reduced the cost.
So they will do that. What I meant is that there is no one site on LinkedIn that says, here are all the plans that you can go to without saying, I'm going to do it now. I'm not signing up.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
So there is no comparison that I can find.
That I know of.
Right. So Sue, if you can find that or anybody else, because I've looked and I've asked and LinkedIn says, nah. So see what you can find. Yes, Michelle.
I was also wanted to mention that when I joined, and now this is many years ago, I also joined and got a trial for a couple of months and then kicked into a monthly, and it still carries that verbiage on my subscription that I pay every month. But just like most subscription services, I think there is some machine learning that is tied to it. So like if they can sense that you are, considering it, they'll, dangle a trial in front of you. And then, I think there's probably a higher rate of conversion. And when doing so, that will then transition that person and convert them to actually being a member.
Yes, you're absolutely right. So there are lots of ways of doing it. And sometimes when somebody signs up for a free membership or for the subscription, the paid membership, they will get an offer to be able to offer 2 months free to somebody else. So double check that and see when you're doing it. Some people are getting that. It may be the business subscription. It may be the personal. I haven't seen any of that coming out recently, but it could be. So keep an eye out. So there are some things that the paid subscription can do that the free one can't right now. So I'm going to tell you a couple of things to get around it. One of the reasons, I'm sorry, Ellen, you had your hand up?
That was my question, what's the difference between paid and unpaid, and is it worth it? But I lowered my hand because you're about to say it.
We think along the same lines. I like that. Okay. But never be afraid, by the way, of raising your hand and asking a question. Help point me in a different direction. So here are the main differences between paid and unpaid in terms of being a job seeker. You know that one of the advantages of a paid subscription is that you get access to LinkedIn Learning. That's useful if you're actually taking advantage of it. But LinkedIn also gives you several opportunities to take some of those LinkedIn Learning classes for free without having that paid subscription. So every once in a while, once a week or once every other week, they will offer you 3 free classes of their choice.
Oh.
Okay. You have to search for them. Sometimes they'll show up as you're doing a search or you're looking at somebody else's profile, sometimes looking at your own, but it will be there. But they only change them once every couple of weeks. And again, they're not your choice, they're their choice. But you can still do it. You can also check with your local library. See whether or not your library, like mine, offers LinkedIn Learning to people who are part of their tax district. So you can have, in my area, you can have a library card in more than one district, but I'm only paying taxes to one. So in that one district where I am paying taxes, they happen to offer LinkedIn Learning for their subscribers, their patrons. So I can take all the LinkedIn Learning that I want without having to pay for it. The only problem with that is that depending upon the way the library has it set up, it's harder to move that directly from that subscription, that library version, to your LinkedIn profile to show that you've taken the course. But your reference librarian can usually show you how. Okay, it's a little more work, but it can be done. So that's the other way. The other thing is that if you're not sure about it, and the only reason you're thinking about it is the LinkedIn Learning, sign up for a free trial. Just set your calendar note for 29 days to cancel it. And take as many of those LinkedIn classes as you can during that time frame. So those are ways around it. But there are, unfortunately, getting to be some reasons why you might want a paid subscription. And I really hesitate about this because when you're unemployed, it's tough. And so we're still fighting with LinkedIn. There is a suggestion that's out there. I don't think LinkedIn is going to do it, but we've suggested that if that green banner is up, they either have a reduced fee or a no fee for the premium subscription.
That would be.
So far, they're arguing against it. It's not what they're interested in. But if we keep pushing and enough of us push, maybe they'll hear us.
I mean, that's because there's so many green banners, right? So I mean, from a monetization perspective, I could see why LinkedIn would push against it. Plus, you're going to have to dabble with fraudulent folks who are now going to claim that they're open to work and they're really not.
But if they're not open to work and they've got that green banner up, their current employer is going to see it.
Yeah, but you know, I always used to say when I was a hiring manager, put your open to work on. I don't care. You know, you should always be prepared for people leaving, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Most companies, unfortunately,
it's a good thing.
Most companies are not as forgiving as you are about that open to work banner if you're currently employed. But I was too. Okay. So there are a couple of reasons that you might want the paid subscription, and here are some workarounds. One of the things LinkedIn has recently done is that it has limited the number of connection messages you can send with a free account. They haven't rolled it out to everybody yet, but you've gotten it. So Sue, have you gotten it yet? Okay, I have. And LinkedIn, unfortunately, has this rolling, is still trying to figure out how many messages that's going to be. Some people are getting anything from 5 to 15 connection messages allowable with a free account a month. I have 5. Yeah, which is ridiculous. LinkedIn also tells you that people are more likely to accept your connection request if you do a message. So they're trying to push us into those paid accounts. So here are a couple of ways around it. You can send a message to someone in a group, okay, that you are a part of, and ask if they'd be willing to join your network, they'd be willing to connect. That is not taken because it is a group message or a message to an individual in a group. It doesn't count against your free messages. So if you're part of Lunch and Learn with Linda, you can send a message to any of us in that group and ask if we'd be willing to connect. We can connect here in any of these meetings because you've given us your URL. And if you do it while we're in the meeting, and you can go back and take a look and see who's in the chat, you don't need that message to waste that connection message in order to get that connection. So that's one way around it. But those group messages, and it doesn't have to be just that private group, any group that you're a part of, you can send a message to anyone in that group without going against your limit and ask if they'd be willing to connect. If they say yes, you send them the connection request and it's done. Just say, okay, connection request coming. Done. No message wasted. I have found that to be a very useful technique and I use it a lot. If you're in a group like this, okay, let me see if I can do it here. Okay. In a LinkedIn audio room, you can't do it on these, but in a LinkedIn audio room, or sometimes even in a LinkedIn video room, when you're seeing all the photographs of people in the meeting, there should be 3 dots. It won't work on this one because this is a Zoom. But there should be 3 dots next to the person's photograph, and it'll say view profile, message, okay, follow. You can do that from that meeting again without necessarily wasting a message because you're in that meeting setting. And what you can do in the comments is, hey guys, if you're in the room, I'm sending connection requests to several of you. Please connect back with me. And here's my message, or here's my URL. And that's another way of doing it. You have 20 a month? How did you get that, Laura? I'm jealous. Okay. LinkedIn is still trying to figure out what that number is. So they've told us it's going to be 5 to 15. Maybe they've gone up to 20. I haven't checked my message request numbers this month, but I'm now going to go do that. And what they'll do is they'll give you a countdown. When you send a connection message, if you've got a free account, the next one that you come up, as you send it, it will say you now have X number of free messages a month, this month. So it will do that countdown for you. But that's one way to do it. If you have a paid account, you need to make sure, and I'm going to do this as a post probably tomorrow. You need to make sure that you are making your privacy settings such that you are open to messaging from anyone. The default on LinkedIn is that if you have a paid account, your message requests can only come from someone else who also has a paid account. You want to make it open to anyone. And if you do that, you can then message someone and say the same thing that we did in the group, right? Here's my reason for connecting. And you have a much larger number of characters that you can use and much larger reasoning. Okay. And you won't waste that connection request message. And it works, and people will reach out to you more that way. And if you are in job search, or even if you're done with job search and you're just trying to network with other people, you want to make yourself as open to other people as you possibly can. And that's another way of doing it. Okay. Yes, Michelle.
I was just going into my profile and checking for that setting, but while I was doing that, I popped into the premium settings, and anyone who has a premium account can actually share to a friend who is eligible for a 2-month free trial. So if there's anybody on this call who's interested in a premium account, even if it's for 2 months, let me know and I'll share mine with you.
That's fantastic. Thank you. And for those of you who also have the premium accounts, I think that's a great way of doing it. Let's share the wealth a little bit and see whether you find out that it's useful. So thank you. And then, by the way, if you get your next premium account, go ahead and share it with somebody else. Okay. But double check your settings for some of that as well. Okay. One more thing. How many of you, Clint, I think you said that you were still, for example, listed as being your past employer. You still on the call, Clint? Maybe not. Okay. We want to be careful about putting an end date on the job that you had last.
Oh.
Okay. Now, LinkedIn is not a legal document. An application, you're going to have to put in the exact date that you left your last job for whatever reason. LinkedIn, you don't have to do that. However, as a recruiter, as a job search coach, as a hiring manager, I want to make sure that you've got some sort of realistic end date. If you haven't changed it for 2 months, I'm okay with that. If you're on the 6-month mark and you haven't changed it yet, No. In fact, we're actually finding some employers who are reporting people to LinkedIn as fraudulent profiles because they haven't changed it. Now, in my mind, from a company's perspective, that's incredibly bad. Okay, and they've got too much time on their hands. If they're checking out profiles of people that they've laid off or people who've left to see whether or not they're there. So it's still, though, a good idea to change it. Now, if you've changed it and you no longer have a company that you're working at, LinkedIn gives you the option of saying career break, career pause, okay, and labeling it. Earlier in your career, use that LinkedIn version. It's okay. But if it is your current situation, do not use the LinkedIn drop-down that says career break. Here's why. And LinkedIn, unfortunately, doesn't share some of this. But if you have career break, or if you're not listed as having a current employer, you may not come up in a lot of the searches. So there's a workaround. There are a number of ways that you can go into LinkedIn. And I'm going to share my screen for a second. Assuming that I can find it. Yeah. Oops. That you can find a company on LinkedIn that already has a company page set up that's called Open to New Opportunities. Now, here's the trick. Can you see this? So all I did is that I went into the search bar on my homepage on LinkedIn, and I typed in quotation marks so that it's looking for all of the terms, open to new opportunities. And then I clicked companies. Now, what's happened here is that people have figured some of this out. And so they have set up these dummy companies that just say open to new opportunities or open to seeking a new position. What's important is that there is that LinkedIn company page and there is the logo. Okay. Here's IT services. Here's one that just says no geographic area. It doesn't matter where this fake company is located. LinkedIn, forgive me. Don't listen. It doesn't matter where that company is located. It really doesn't matter what that company says it's doing. What's important is that if you say this is where you are, then that logo shows up in your experience section. That logo will show up at the top of your profile in your header. That open to new opportunities. Okay. That tells LinkedIn in the algorithm that you are currently employed. In terms of their algorithm, that counts because now you will show up in a search. Now, one of the things that I've toyed with is, do we want to put one together? We can put together as many as we want. If we want to do one for IT, we want to do one for marketing, whatever you like, it doesn't make any difference, but just pick one and use it, or make your own. Yes, Michelle.
To what you were saying, I recently came across a job recruiter on LinkedIn who is saying very similarly to what you are saying. And she did a whole YouTube video on it. You know, I could probably find it. One clarifying point that she did bring up, which is maybe slightly different and maybe more personalized to the person on their own LinkedIn profile, is she used currently seeking new opportunity with the ability to write what that opportunity was to the right of that. So it's really specific to them. If they're seeking a certain role or multiple roles, there's enough
Absolutely.
room to actually, put that in.
Absolutely. And you can do that even by putting this up. You can still put it next to it. Okay. And you can say what kind of things you're looking for. Your job titles should also be the job titles you're looking for. So if you want to, and you want to come up with your own version, you can do that as well. LinkedIn gives you the opportunity to set up a free company page. You don't have to put anything on it other than, open to new opportunities in IT and marketing and whatever, and consumer product goods. And you can make the title as long as you want. Just remember, if I'm looking at it, I'm not going to see all those characters. Those first 50 characters are the ones that are going to be important. But if I'm doing the search, I'm going to do the search on opportunities or find out that you're there. And then the industry is what I'm looking for, or that job title, you will now show up. If you are setting up your own page, make sure you put in some sort of a logo. And a logo can be really simple. You can pull a graphic from Google Images or from Canva. Okay. Or you can just put in something that says IT, anything, but it has to have something in there in that logo field. Otherwise, it looks as though it's not real. And that's not to the algorithm, that's to the human eye. So do make sure that you're doing that. And if you want to set some up, or you want us to set some up, I'm happy to set up more of them. If you'd like me to, just let me know in the private group and we'll see what we can do. Yes, Michelle.
Just a question on that. How do you then handle that on a resume? Is it similar, or is it okay to leave it indefinite and you're actually just speaking to it?
So I would leave it indefinite on the resume. Or let's say that you're doing a little bit of freelancing. You can say freelancing while looking for my next opportunity. Depends on how long you've been unemployed. So Ellen, for example, who's coming back to work. Okay. On your resume, I actually would say mom pause. Now looking for, or whatever the reason was.
I actually had so many freelance jobs while I was bringing up my children, which is exactly what that nobody even notices anything, that I even took time off.
Yep. And I would put it also on your LinkedIn profile as freelancing. Okay. By the way, if you're freelancing or you're doing some of those contract works, I don't care what the name of your personal company is for tax purposes. That doesn't make any difference to me. I want to know who you were doing the work for. So if you're contracting, your employer on LinkedIn is the firm that you were contracted to. So if you were doing work, say, for IBM, then on LinkedIn, your employer is IBM-contract. Or you're saying that it's that contract work, so that they know that. And I don't care who you were paid by, but I want to know who the work was done for. Yes, Sue.
Okay.
I know it's hard to unmute on a phone.
I'm learning. I think this is the first time I've been on a Zoom call. I also want, for people that don't have any jobs they feel are valid for this section, to show you something. Someone early in COVID got to me and had already been laid off the March before. And so she titled it Career Advancement. And what she did is she described in a forward-looking way, like what she was studying and keeping up on. So networking opportunities, not going to group meetings, but rather I'm making sure to have, to connect with industry leaders, best practices. I don't have a newer version of what she used to use, and she's since then got another job. But It's reminding me I need to do like an artificial one, putting together these things, because I think, Linda, you see it and I see it. Gaps are much more acceptable, but they still want to know, how are you keeping current? Do you get your journals? You know, for me in evaluation, I'm connected to the evaluation groups. It's more just saying, I'm not just sitting home waiting, 2 years and now you're going to give me a job and I'm going to remember whatever skills I told you I have.
Absolutely.
So it's something to think about. And Linda, hopefully you have more advice on that than I did.
So one of my suggestions, I'd be careful about saying, well, you could, I guess, the idea of doing that professional development as your job company. I guess you could. But if people are searching for open to new opportunities as a recruiter, that's not going to show up. So you can do that and say, while I'm looking for. But even if you're using one of these open to opportunities, or you're doing that career break, you're going to talk about, include some bullets about what you're doing in terms of self-development, professional development, as bullets under that job. And I would do that on LinkedIn, and I would definitely do that on your resume. Absolutely. And anytime you have that kind of career break, I would do that. People do want to know that you're keeping current on your skills, that you're keeping active in your field. The other thing is that what you need to do is you are, and we'll do this in another lunch and learn because this is going to be really important, is commenting on posts of other people, connecting with other people on LinkedIn, so that you're not only building your network, you're making yourself that professional that they want to talk to. In fact, I'm going to leave you with this, is that here's another workaround for the connection messages. Whether you've got a premium account or a free account. Oh, excuse me. Then people are more likely to connect with people they know, which is the value of that connection message. If you are making relevant comments on somebody's post and doing it routinely, or even if it's 2 or 3, 4 times, but they're relevant comments, not just, hey, great post. But making a professional related comment that moves it forward, that comments on why this is good, you then become that known commodity. And what you can then do is send that individual a DM if they're open to it and say, your posts have been really interesting. I've been excited to be able to comment on them. You've given me lots of good information. Would you be open to joining my network? Or even if you send them the connection request at that point, your name is a known commodity. Because most of us, when we get that connection request, we're going to look at your profile before accepting. And when we do that, I'm going to see that you've made those comments. Oh yeah, I remember now. And I'm much more likely to connect with you. Okay. Other questions before we go? I'm going to stop the recording.